all, does anyone know the name of that song? What? Does anyone know who it is by? Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20 and Carlos Santana. The reason I played that is the second most popular song in the world. Maybe not in India, but in the world. So when I finish today, I'm actually going to play the most popular song in the world. Guys, it's fabulous to be here. I wanted to come to India for many years. This is my first time. And I'm really, really excited. It's been fabulous meeting many of you. I want to tell you about a friend of mine back in Australia. His name is Tony Singh. Now, both of Tony's parents were born here in India. And despite Tony being born in Australia, he's very, very proud of his Indian heritage. Good friend of mine. So when Tony found out that I was coming to Mumbai to speak to you guys, he was really excited. He said, Greg, you'll find the Indian people amongst the friendliest and happiest on the planet.
Yay!
And that's certainly been my experience in the last couple of days. But what he said to me, he said, Greg, if you really want to endear yourself to the Indian people, you should say something to them in their language. Particularly about their national passion, which is cricket. Tony and I are big cricket fans back in Australia, right? So he excitedly wrote something for me to say to you today. And he made me practice and practice and practice, as the Sam said. But I became a little bit suspicious. Because Tony has a reputation of being a trickster, right? Not only that, he would ring me every couple of days and say, how are you going with your rehearsal? Are you practicing? So I was really cautious. So what I did was I typed what he wanted me to say into Google. So I'm going to tell you now what he wanted me to say to you, but I'm going to say it in English, right? So it went something like this. Hello India, my name is Greg Mowbray and I'm from Australia, and I'm here to teach the Indian cricket team how to bat. So it was a setup. I mean, look at me. Do I look like I could teach anyone how to bat? Because if I could, I'd be home in Australia helping the Australian cricket team, and I'd be pretty busy, wouldn't I?
Yeah. You can wish that you were.
Aha! So I'm going to apologise up front, right? I told you yesterday that I'm going to share a dirty word with you. Now, I don't usually swear. Certainly not in public. Sometimes if I'm emotional, let's just say the Australian cricket team is about to lose the Ashes again. Or perhaps I'm giving one of our esteemed politicians some advice by screaming at the television. You guys did that, right? Of course. So this dirty word that I'm going to share with you, you've never heard. But when you do hear it, you'll understand completely what it means. Not only that, when you leave here today, you will tell others about it. So, Sam mentioned in my intro, I've had a 30-year professional career. And as I reflect on that professional career, I realise that everything that I have done and everything that has happened to me has contributed to me being here today, speaking to you. I'm also reminded that my life's purpose has been to influence and inspire others. So today I'm going to share a couple of stories with you, and from those stories will be some lessons on life and leadership. A very powerful motivating force in my life today is a deep frustration. And that frustration comes from knowing that there has never been a time where we need good, strong leadership like we do today. There has never been a time where there is more opportunity to develop leadership capability than today. But it's not working. We are failing the leadership challenge. And it is my vision to inspire the world to do better. I was 16 years old I was still at school, and my parents came to me. And they said, Greg, we think you should apply for this job. The job was in administration at the same firm my father worked for. And they said, Greg, this will be a safe, secure job for life. Now, I was very close to my parents. So I did as they suggested. I applied for the job and I got the job and I started work. I enjoyed it at first, but soon after, I felt like that I was just moving paper from one side of my desk to the other. And I was unfulfilled and didn't feel like I was making much of a contribution. You know what, at the same time, I was surrounded by workmates that were unhappy. And I was complaining. I was complaining about the work, I was complaining about each other, and I was certainly complaining about the boss. I thought to myself one day, I have to be careful because I might become one of them. I knew I needed more challenge. I knew that I needed to make more of a difference. So I applied to go to university to study as a school teacher, and I was accepted. I went into work one day and I told my boss and the other workers that I was leaving and I was going to go to university to study to become a teacher. And they laughed at me. Some of them ridiculed me. And then one by one, they came to me and they told me they wished they had the courage to do the same thing. I bumped into one of those workers a couple of years later, and he told me that on the basis of what I had done, several others had done the same. Now, I didn't know I was inspiring them at the time, but I'm glad that I did. So, next phase. I went to university. I was stimulated by the university learning environment, and I graduated as a teacher. I taught for a couple of years, but again I had a nagging feeling. Perhaps this is not enough of a challenge. Perhaps I'm not making enough of a difference. You know what happened again? I looked around, very strong memory, I looked around at the other teachers and many of them were unhappy and complaining. I was in the lunchroom one day, and over in the corner was a teacher holding court with 10 or 12 other teachers. And he was complaining about the children, about the other teachers, about the principal, and about the school. I've got to tell you guys, it was like deja vu. Because 5 years prior to that day, I had been in that very school as a trainee school teacher. That same teacher, in that same lunchroom, was complaining about the same things. 5 years difference. He wasn't doing anything about it. At that moment, I realised that teaching was not going to be a long-term option for me. I had become a teacher because I wanted to inspire and influence others, but perhaps I realised standing in front of a group of children wasn't enough of a challenge. But I also learned from that if you don't like something, you've got to change it. You've got to take action to change it. Next, I became a health researcher. I was part of a team that produced some groundbreaking evidence in the area of men's health. Now, we worked with some overweight, blue-collar Australian workers, and we tried to change the way they thought about weight loss. The campaign was called Gutbusters. And what we tried to do was get the guys to focus more on the size of their tummies than what they weighed on the scales. Now, it was quite groundbreaking at the time. It's quite revolutionary at the time. The campaign was really high profile, and we had a lot of publicity, and I was the spokesperson for the campaign, and I enjoyed that. In addition to that, we published several articles in scientific journals, and I gained my master's degree in medical science by evaluating the effectiveness of the program. So after a couple of years, I was confronted with a career choice between academia, working in the university, or working for the government as a public servant. And you know what? Neither of those two things appealed to me too much, because they're both bureaucracies. And in my experience, people in those environments were happy to be mediocre, and I wasn't. One day a co-worker came to me and he said, "Greg, come here." I said, "What?" He said, "Is there any chance you can slow down?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The pace you're going at makes me and the other guys look bad." I didn't want to be in that mediocre environment. So do you know what I did? I did what any sensible person, faced with a choice between working in the university and working in the government, would do. I tossed a coin and I'd get a career in advertising and marketing. I became an award-winning advertising executive. I was leading successful teams, winning business and making lots of money. The only thing I wasn't making was a difference. I found myself beginning to live inauthentically. The values of the business owner and my values didn't align. But you know what I did? I compromised. Because I was making lots of money and living the high life. So to some extent I sold out. Now I didn't like the person I'd become, and neither did my wife. And she left me. I sat down with my 8-year-old son and my 4-year-old daughter, and I told them that Mum and Dad were splitting up. It was and still is the most difficult conversation I've ever had. It was particularly hard when I looked down at them and I saw the tears rolling down their little cheeks, and I realised that that was a direct result of my poor choices. Now I've learned from that I must go through my life living authentically. I can't fake it. I've got to be true to myself. The other thing that I learned, and it's a really important lesson, is that we must focus on the most important things in our life. Now get this, I think we're all jugglers, right? We're juggling our career and our relationships and our health and our spirituality and our social life. And some of those balls are rubber. And if we drop one of those, we can pick it up and start juggling again. But some of those balls are glass. If you're not careful, you might find yourself down on your knees picking up pieces. Not good. So guys, I had a massive wake-up call. Massive wake-up call. I started my own business as a business consultant. So a business consultant is someone who gets called in when there are problems or issues, right? A little bit like a batting coach in cricket. Yes? So in my time as a business consultant, I worked with hundreds of businesses, small, medium and large, and across a broad range of industry sectors. I really liked the role of influencing and inspiring people and organisations to become better. But it was about after 10 years, and maybe I'm a slow learner as a business consultant, that the penny dropped with me. And I had a major realisation that all of the good stuff that I saw in those 10 years of consulting, things like high levels of staff engagement, good strong culture, good communication, and all of the bad stuff, and I saw plenty of bad stuff because usually you get called in when there are problems. So high staff turnover, toxic culture, low morale, all of the good stuff, all of the bad stuff are strongly and directly linked to one thing: the quality of the leadership in the organisation. Now this was consistent with my experience in my previous careers, and I'm sure that it's consistent with what you guys have seen in your careers. I had another interesting, challenging career decision to make at that point in time. I could continue to make a living out of being a business consultant, treating the symptoms of the disease, poor leadership, or in fact I could focus on preventing it in the first place. So you know what, for the last 5 years, I've been passionately focused on building leadership capability in individuals and in organisations. I mentioned to you before that my life's purpose is to inspire and influence others. I also mentioned to you that I'm driven by this deep frustration. never been a greater need for good, strong leadership now. There's never been greater opportunity for us to develop as leaders. But it's not working. I look to our organisations and I still see high levels of dissatisfaction and disengagement. I look to some of our institutions and I see evidence of a lack of integrity. I look to some governments around the world and I see evidence of corruption and dishonesty. It's not working. Instead of leadership, what we've got is leadership. Guys, it's a dirty word and I don't like it. But I want your help to overcome it. My life's passion now is as a leadership speaker, author, mentor and consultant. I want to disrupt what's going on. I want to go into organisations and challenge people about what they're doing. I think we're too complacent. I think too many of us are settling for managing. Managing is not enough. We need to lead. I want your help to overcome this dirty word. Now, in my book, The Road Rules for Leadership, there are 21 simple, practical strategies to help you move from managing to highly effective leading. And those 21 rules are based around this simple model. You can see, I'll just point this out very quickly, you can see that at the bottom here we have manager. I think the biggest problem that I see day in, day out in many organisations is that too many people are settling as managers. We need to challenge ourselves to step up into highly effective leadership. Now, do you see the 5 core competencies in the model? They are vision, authenticity, action, responsibility and inspiration. Guess where they came to me from? My life's experience. The stuff that I had learned along the way, from the mistakes and the successes that I had through a 30-year career. There are just 2 quick things I want to leave you with now. If you make a mistake, a big mistake, and you get a second chance, don't make the same bad choices again. This is Melissa, my 2 little girls, Tully and Maddie, and my 2 big guys, Lillian and William. And together we're very happy, and this time around I think I've been a far more present and attentive father and husband. The last thing I want to leave you with is, I'm often asked whether leaders are born or made. My 2 little girls, you see there, play under-7s football in Australia. Have you guys ever seen little girls play under-7s football? To use the term football is using the term very loosely, right? Some are over there picking flowers and others are holding hands and singing. Every now and again, someone's interested in where the ball is, right? So I took my 2 little girls to football practice recently. And they started off, the coach had them playing a warm-up game. We call it stuck in the mud, but I think you call it lock and key. Do you know the game? Yeah. So one child is in, and they have to chase the other children to try and tag them. And when they're tagged, they become stuck. They can't move until one of the other children crawls between their legs and frees them, and then they run again. So I was standing there with some parents, and we're having great fun watching our girls enjoy themselves. But I observed something. And that was, one of those little girls was more focused on the service of others. Rather than just avoiding the tag, she was focused on serving others. So she would put herself at risk. She would run around, and any girl that was stuck, she would climb between their legs and free them. I think some of us are put on this earth to serve others. I know that I am. I wonder if you are. Now, what makes me very proud is to tell you that little girl was my daughter Madison. Guys, my wish for you today is that you can go forward and inspire and influence the people around you. And together you can help me overcome this dirty word. Thank you.
Yeah!
One last thing. Cue the music. The number one song, most popular song in the world. Let's go. Let's go.
You're looking good. I'm gonna sing my song.
Come on.
It won't take long. We're gonna do the twist and it goes.
Come on.
Come on, let's twist again. That part my song.
Okay, that'll do. Thank you, everybody.
Let's twist again.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Greg Mowbray. Come on, please put your hands together for Greg Mowbray. Sam, I forgot to mention partway through that I'm going to give you all a copy of my book. We're going to
Wow! Yeah!
So we're going to email that to you today in e-book format. But the beautiful lady that helped me kick off today's proceedings with the dance, she gets her own copy and I'll be happy to find that.
Yeah! Thank you very much, Greg. That is fantastic. Greg, we really wanted to acknowledge you again for flying all the way from Sydney to come here and present with us today. I love the word, I love your heart, and you'll certainly go places. So can we please again acknowledge Greg Mowbray? Okay, so we have two more presenters before lunch, and our very next presenter is Sushma Jain. She is a pranic healer. She's also a master NLP practitioner, neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. She's a graphologist, an ICF certified coach, and Vision Transfers Life. I am excited about this very next presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, as she's getting prepared. Actually, look, while she's getting prepared, I would like to, just right on the spot, Greg doesn't even know about this, does anyone at all have a question at all for Greg here this morning? Yes, we have a person over here with their hand up. I'll give you this, and Greg will find you a microphone. Okay, go. We'll find one.
Yes, Greg, one small quick question. The process that you said about from manager to a leader, it's the vision, authenticity, action, responsibility, and inspiration.
Yes.
Just one small query there. Is it that you have identified, discovered from the strength finder?
That's a really good point. I didn't know about the strength. I haven't got mine on, but I didn't know about the strengths. I developed that IP over about 5 years. I did some professional development with a guy very similar to Sam a few years ago. And the very process that Sam has challenged you all with yesterday and today, about what is your why? A couple of years before I met Sam, I was challenged with exactly the same thing. And guys, I remember, and this is Matt Church, a friend and colleague of Sam's. I remember saying to Matt, who he's a guru, Matt, I know lots and lots of stuff, and I know that I have to inspire and influence others, but I don't know what. And you guys are right here, right now, probably. What is it that I need to get out there? And it was a really confronting and challenging process. But I was sitting in Matt's rooms, just like Sam's Speaker Institute in Sydney. I was sitting in Matt's rooms one day, and I drew that. I don't know if we can't put that model back up, but I drew that model on a piece of paper. And I don't know why I did it in those circles, but it was almost like, and the way I describe that model is, the small circle at the bottom, that small shape at the bottom that says manager. I say to people, if you could measure the area of that shape, that's how much influence a manager has on an organisation. Then if you look at the large shape in which the word highly effective leader appears, by contrast, that's the a massive increase in influence that a highly effective leader has in an organisation. My book, all of my blogs, all of my videos, all of my programs are based on that model. And it's based on the premise that managing is not enough. You need to lead. In fact, the road rules for leadership, guess what rule number 1 is? Managing is not enough. You need to lead. The other 20 rules tell you how to move from manager to highly effective leader. But if you don't get the first one, the rest don't matter. That's the question.
That is great, fantastic. Thank you very much, Greg. Can we just acknowledge him again? Thank you very much, Greg.